Hi guys and welcome to Razon.com. This is Mohit Soni. What is in front of you is another obvious comparison. We've brought you a couple of comparisons in the last few weeks. This is one of them, the Mahindra XUV 400 versus the Tata Nexon EV Max. This is the car that is taken the market by storm. Everybody loves it. Everybody's buying it. There's a huge waiting list. But surprise, surprise, Mahindra, who's come late, and what looks like Mahindra has done a job. In a bit of a hurry, but at the same time they've gotten a lot of things right on the XUV 400. What are they all about? Well, they are very closely spec'd, very closely matched in many ways, but at the same time it's the Tata Nexon EV Max, which on paper holds quite a lot. So of course we have road tested the Tata Nexon EV Max extensively. I made a lot of videos, full videos, short videos, everything, so the information is available on that entirely separately if you're not interested in this comparison. But the Mahindra XUV 400 is here, and recently we put out the content for it as well. What are these cars all about? Well, they are entry level. I can't call it sub 4 meter SUV because the XUV 400 is a 4.2 meter vehicle, while the Nexon of course is a 4 meter vehicle. But they are again rivals in the ICE space, and they are pretty much rivals in the EV space as well. Let's talk about the new kid on the block, the XUV 400. It is a new car that we're looking at. The EV Max has been in the market for quite some time. The bronze elements, this grey color, the grill that has been blocked out here, it all looks really nice. The black, the grey, along with the bronze that is on offer, looks fantastic. It has a charging point which is here, much like a lot of foreign models, but the Indian models have the charging point over here. Coming to the back, while following at the side, you can see it's a typical XUV 300, but you come at the back, you realize this is XUV 400 with those huge lamps on offer. This is a sort of very big tail lamp indeed, and you've got the bronze badging here as well. Let me quickly show you one aspect of the interior which is very important. Is this a 372 liter boot space, along with a lot of space in the front that it is known for, which I'll explain in the next part. And this is the reason why the XUV 300 had a sore point. With the XUV 400, the EVs don't need to be sub 4 meter vehicles, so Mahindra has just charged ahead, used this fantastic opportunity, and has given us the 4.2 meter car. And as you can see, it's got space as well as boot space. Coming to the Nexon, let's start at the back itself. Typical Tata Nexon design, aging extremely well, lot of colors, lot of elements at play, and you've got a very good looking alloy wheels, a profile which is really good to look at even today after all these years. I think 2017 to 2023, with a lot of elements on offer, yet it looks really timeless, and it's the silhouette that is doing a great job. But for the EV, you've got the block and out grille. There is obviously some space below for the radiators to breathe. This is of course liquid cooled, and that is what the design is all about. While the Mahindra is big and muscular and wide, it's the Nexon that looks very funky yet very timeless, and the silhouette is the highlight that gains everybody's attention and still looks fantastic in every single color. While we see dark colors, or the dark color all the time on the Nexon EV Max on the road, this blue color also looks really well. Overall, this is what the the exterior, the looks, and the other tidbits are all about. Let's jump into the interior and see what is it all about. That is the interior of the XUV 400, and I'll show you the interior of the Nexon EV Max also. But here what we've shown you in our review videos and other videos and is what it is. There are a good amount of features, but it feels bare basic in front of the Nexon EV Max. You don't get ventilated seats, you don't get a very good infotainment system. It's not modern, but it's good enough. It's Mahindra's own system which works really well. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is still wired of course, and the bronze applique along with the blue which is seen here looks really nice, and you've got contrast stitching here as well. This is quite a spacious cabin indeed. As you can see, it doesn't feel like a small car. One of the reasons why the XUV 300 does well, XUV 400 also appeals quite well. So this is the interior, all blackened out, a sporty look. At the same time, it's got bronze and blue elements which makes it quite sophisticated as well. Practicality and everything I've explained. I'll just show you what the back is like once. That is the amount of space you're getting here. Let me just sit and show you. The seat is pushed quite back, and I still have lot of leg room, lot of knee room. Headroom is just about okay. That is one of the issues that is being carried over from the XUV 300. And you've got armrest with cup can holders. Door pads are quite big, and yeah, a nice sunroof is on offer. I think this is bigger than the Nexon EV, which we'll see in a bit. These cars, in terms of safety, have been rated really well in their ICE versions, 5 stars indeed, and so that should pretty much apply to the EV versions as well. Getting inside the Nexon EV Max, what you can see here is a very airy cabin. It has the top part in black and sort of this blue, fuchsia blue is that's what it's called, and you've got ventilated seats, height adjustable seat is on offer, cruise control, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is wired here as well, but you get a proper luxury feature: electronic parking brake, auto hold, wireless charger, charging points, AC that works really well, IRVM is automatic. So all these features are not available on the XUV 400. Like I said, the sunroof is clearly bigger on the XUV 400. Ventilated seats are a big boon. Of course, we have transcended from the summers to the rains, so but still we know how important they are. And yeah, the instrument cluster on the Nexon EV Max remains just about okay, but what I'm going to show you right now is the fact that the Nexon, I won't show you the infotainment system because the car has been updated. This car hasn't been. Is the fact that it gets a brand new screen from the Red Dark edition that we've seen, and that screen and that infotainment system is completely different from this. So you can go to our Nexon EV Dark, walk around to see what that infotainment system is all about. That is clearly better than the Nexon, the XUV 400. Again, very good space here. The seats are bigger, much more comfortable. You've got AC vents, armrest along with cup can holders. Surprisingly, no center headrest, along with the belt, of course, is a lap one. It's hidden inside, and yeah, that's what the EV Max is all about. A lot of features list, a lot of features over the XUV 400, and a boot is slightly smaller than the XUV 400, and but still very practical, very good layout, and low loading lip as well. You've got a reversing camera and sensors here as well. Of course, the Nexon also sort of misses out on the front parking sensors, which I think was also necessary. So the Nexon EV Max, according to me, wins the interior round. It feels more airy and it has a lot more features on offer. The infotainment system is much better than the XUV 400, and there's a lot more when you start talking about the battery, the specs and the power and the driving. So let's jump into that right now. So what is the XUV 400 and the Nexon EV like to drive? Well, to begin with, specs, the Mahindra XUV 400 has a 39.4 kilowatt battery, which is the highest spec that we were driving, and there is of course the Nexon EV Max that we also had, was the top of the line variant, which has a 40 kilowatt battery, and both these cars make around similar horsepower and torque. The AC charging on the Nexon EV is slightly faster than the XUV charging. Both of them we tried and tested these charging aspects. On the DC side, of course, we put it into DC charging, and both these cars were charged from 0 to 100 let's say within 1 hour 25 minutes roughly, given the calculations that we ran. And so DC charging is same enough. The AC charging on the Nexon EV is faster than the XUV, which is only 2 hours behind. The XUV 400 takes around 6 hours, while the Nexon EV Max takes around 4.5 hours. So it is pretty fast, and yet the XUV isn't far behind. When it comes to DC, both are pretty much the same, and the battery packs are also very similar. The horsepower and torque figures are also very similar. The XUV of course has a slight advantage when it comes to torque, and that is pretty apparent in the way they acceleration is. The XUV 400 does 0 to 100 in 8 seconds, while the Nexon EV does it around 9 seconds. So the XUV is clearly the fastest of the lot, and that is a good thing. And at the same time, it does feel slightly more quicker because the way the batteries have been and the way the battery pack and the motors has been done. The XUV 400, despite being bigger, wider, and has bigger tires and all of that, it still feels much more quicker and responsive to drive than the Nexon EV Max. Of course, in sport mode, both of them feel very similar, but then again, it's the XUV that feels a bit more quicker, and that is very apparent in the numbers as well, that like I told you. In terms of refinement, I think the XUV feels a bit more refined. You don't hear the battery noises, the motor noises that you hear in the Nexon EV. We've ridden the Nexon EV for couple of times over the last year, and all the time it has had some noise or the other coming in, of course, which is bare minimum. But for the sake of this comparison, we can tell you the XUV 400 is much more quieter, much more refined. All the noises are in check. The only noise I can hear in the XUV is the of course the AC, which compressor, which turns on and off, and it's a little bit that you can hear. Apart from that, I think the XUV 400 is much more refined. I can't. The other aspect, the most fun to drive car in this segment, I thought it's always going to be the Nexon EV, but surprisingly it is the XUV 400 that feels the sportiest to drive. It just feels much more agile, much more on its feet. The handling is fantastic. It feels like a much larger hatchback, and the way, because it's the silhouette of the car, it's much lower than the Nexon, and so the center of gravity, of course, is gone down even more, and there is now weight pushed lower down. It's the XUV that feels much more sportier to drive because of the powertrain and the lower body roll, and the responses from the powertrain just make it the most fun to drive. The Nexon EV, of course, feels great, but it isn't out and out sporty. I always thought, and I've always told you, that the Nexon feels great when it comes to ICE and when it comes to EV, but it's just the XUV that trumps it a little bit with the way everything is packaged in the XUV. And the Nexon EV isn't far away. It doesn't feel very commuterish. Also, it's there somewhere. The ride quality is also pretty good. It's sporty. It feels stiff as well. The steering also has good feel and feedback on both these cars. And the Nexon EV is almost there, but that slight advantage, the detailed analysis that we have, is that the XUV 400 feels a bit more sportier to drive. I told you about the timings of the 0 to 100. The XUV aces that, and it's the range that is being talked about in the XUV 400 and the Nexon EV. While Mahindra is claiming a huge number of around 450 kilometers with the ARI claims, while I don't remember the Nexon EV claims. What I know for sure, of course, after driving these cars and charging them almost 3 times, is the fact that the XUV 400 returns 290 kilometers in our testing, as simple as that. While our testing again and again on the Nexon EV has delivered around 275 to 280. So they are both in line with the range. People say that the XUV 400 loses out on range dramatically. The real reason why we've been able to get such a big number in the XUV 400 is that we've been driving it in the L mode. A lot of people have been driving in the D mode, I assume. That is the reason why they're not getting that range. Once you drive in L, which is a one pedal, basically it's a one pedal drive mode within the gear selector itself, and despite it has fun, fast and fearless driving modes, the L is the one that makes it a one pedal drive. So when you drive in that and your top speed is almost limited to 100, after that the progress is really slow. The benefit to that is that when you drive in L mode, the range doesn't drop very quickly, and you realize that you can take out a lot of kilometers out of the XUV 400. But surprise, surprise, both are equally matched in this comparison. And what looked like the Mahindra would have been fallen back in the range race, it isn't. And the XUV holds that card as well, and it becomes a very, very good car in this segment. What is our verdict? What is our final decision on these cars? Let's find out. So our verdict on the XUV 400 versus the Nexon EV Max, which car wins? Well, that is what you expect from a comparison, and we do have a winner for you. Let's begin with the Nexon EV Max. Well, that car has taken the market by storm, and for a reason, like I told you earlier, is because everything just feels right about the Nexon EV Max. The way it looks, the way it drives, the way it is on the inside, on the outside, the way it drives, the range, the the powertrain, everything just feels just right. I think the Nexon EV was built to be an EV first and then an ICE, because the ICE did not garner this much love within the first few months. It's the EV Max that has gained dramatic traction in the first few months of its launch. So that clearly says a lot that everything just falls perfectly in place with the Nexon EV Max. The range, the features list, the exterior, the interior, everything comes along really well. The AC charging is faster. Tata is helping you get the charging point sorted, and Tata is of course setting power, DC charging points for of course all electric cars, not just Tata cars. And that is the reason why the Tata Nexon EV Max has been able to garner a lot of interest and a lot of sales. The XUV 400 comes a little late, and it looks like they are a bit late. The feature list on the XUV 300 was fantastic when it was launched, and we thought that when Mahindra told us that we've just unveiled the XUV 400, we thought that we're going to get all the bell and whistle that have been deleted over time. And this is the full spec 4.2 meter Tivoli that the XUV 400 is based on, so we'll get everything. But Mahindra has decided to keep the pricing in check. I think they've not been able to get the pricing right, and hence they had to get rid of the features. It isn't as feature loaded as the Nexon EV Max, and features is a defining factor for a lot of people buying the car. Nexon EV has a much better infotainment system, has much more features, and it has some really cool luxury car features that just impresses the people quite quickly. And that's where the XUV 400 falls behind. The feature list isn't that great. The car desperately needs a facelift inside out. On the outside I think it's fine, it's great, but on the inside and the feature list definitely needs to be revised. And if it can come at the same price point, then it will become really good value for money. Both these cars are equally matched when it comes to range, almost. Of course the Nexon EV will always have that slight advantage, but the XUV 400 is not behind if you are driving within the city in L mode. Always remember that that is the big highlight of the XUV 400. And it's just that the car feels a little dated and the feature list is not that impressive, and that's the reason why the Nexon EV Max wins this comparison. But needless to say, the XUV 400 is already sold out. There is a lot of love for this car. We are one of those people who really appreciate the XUV 400, and you can't go wrong with this car. If you want to drive something sporty, something that is much more fun to drive even in the EV space without compromising on space, range, and other things, it is of course the quickest of the lot. It has a bigger boot and it has good space at the back, and both these cars are 5-star rated, so you can't go wrong with either of these cars. It's just that the Nexon EV Max feels put together so well that it's like a hand just fits in the glove perfectly. It's that moment for Tata. And that is it. That is our video review of the Nexon EV Max versus the XUV 400. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, share and subscribe. Follow us on our social media and website for everyday updates. Until then, goodbye.